What up, Net fans? NetsBoy here, bringing your latest in your Brooklyn Nets news. Today is Friday, March 21st, second day of spring. Who the hell cares? There's not a lot to say. These videos are starting to get a little boring, in my personal opinion. I watch my videos here and there because I'm just that type of egotistical, narcissistic person in which I like to just watch myself and think that everything in the world evolves around me and that I'm the only one who matters. So I've seen a couple of my videos, and I think some of them are good, some of them are funny, some of them are okay, but they're kind of dry and kind of lagging, and they kind of go on because I just like to talk. And so there's not much to say for this video. Let's just go back and see what's happened. If you remember my last video, I was really happy about the Nets and about Seton Hall. In that video, I said I wanted to see Seton Hall beat Providence, and I wanted to see the Nets beat the Wizards. Well, the exact opposite happened in both situations. Seton Hall lost to Providence. Providence actually went on to win the Big East tournament, and currently the NCAA March Madness tournament is currently going on right now, obviously. So there's been a lot of crazy things going on already in that. And the Nets lost to the Wizards, and I just could not believe the Nets lost to the Wizards. They should have won that game. They outplayed the Wizards, but then just down the stretch, classic John Wall, point guard better than Darren Williams situation happened, and the Nets just completely could not make a shot down the stretch. But they made it up. They beat the Suns, and then they most recently beat the Bobcats, and they're currently 35-31, currently in the 5 seed, ahead of the before-mentioned Wizards, who lost to Portland yesterday. So the Nets are snug in the 5 seed. So I think I was going to take this video more or less to just let's look at the overall standings, and let's try to stop and think in a realistic standpoint, not just where the Nets will be, but maybe what are the matchups are we going to see in the playoffs? Because, you know what? There's only about 15 games left of the regular season, and it's coming down to crunch time. So let's look at it. The Nets have a favorable stretch of games coming up. They got the Celtics tonight. Then they play Dallas at Dallas. And that is a dangerous game. I think the Nets might actually lose that game because Dallas is a really good team. My boy VC, extremely underrated player. He has some really good dunks already this year. I mean, okay, I don't want to say good dunks. Good for a 37-year-old guy dunks. Let me put it that way. Especially on Robin Lopez. He likes to dunk on Robin Lopez. Look him up. Look at So just do Vince Carter dunks, 2014 or 2013-14. You got a couple. There's not a lot. But, I mean, when you see it, you're like, oh, that's not that special. But then you're like, oh, wait, the guy's 37 years old, and the guy can still probably dunk better than Darren Williams, who got his first career dunk the other night, which barely got over the basket. But beside the point. But the Mavericks look really good. And I think the Nets could lose that game. But who knows? That's still a winnable game. Mavs are a tough team. Pelicans after that, that's winnable. And then the Bobcats again. So really 3 or 4 games they really should win. And as I went through the list, remember, the Cavs after that, Timberwolves, Rockets, Knicks. Rockets and Knicks, who knows what could happen, especially the way the Knicks are playing. And that's something I'm going to touch upon in 2 seconds. But these are very winnable games. And, they have a good stretch coming up. And as long as they win, these 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4 type things, they're going to be right there in the playoffs. Now, let's look at the Eastern Conference standings right now. Indiana's in first place. I'm almost going to say they're definitely going to be there. I think they're going to be the 1 seed. I don't see the Heat being able to surpass them. The Heat are the 2nd seed, obviously. And then there's a huge gap. Toronto's at 38-29. The damn Raptors don't lose. I don't know how, or why, they just don't lose. After that loss to the Nets, though, they still won like 3 games in a row. They just don't go on losing streaks. So I don't see the Nets catching them. I don't. They're only 2.5 games back of the Raptors, which normally is not a lot, but the Raptors just don't seem to freaking lose. Like, it makes no sense. They're the Toronto Raptors. But whatever. So I don't know. I still believe the Nets can make that 3 seed. But the way the Raptors are playing, I don't know. Then you got Chicago in the 4 seed, with the Nets are 2 games back of. That's another team that's not seeming to go on losing streaks. The Raptors and Chicago Bulls can both lose games, but they don't go on losing streaks. And for the Nets to make up ground, those teams have to go on losing streaks. I hate to say it, but the Nets might be a 5 seed, and I don't want that. Even if the Nets go and win 12 of their next 15 games, they still might end up being a 5 seed because I don't know if they could make up. And it's only 2 games. And I know 2 games is not a lot. But the Bulls and Raptors just don't seem to lose. You can't make up ground on a team that doesn't lose. And when they do lose, like the Raptors lost a game when the Nets lost to the Wizards. So it's like, come on. So, I don't know. I still do think the Nets could be the 3 seed. I really want them to be at least a 4 seed. I want them to have a home court advantage in the first round. And I really don't want them to play the Bulls. I want them to be the 3 seed. Because the 3 seed, then they would play the Wizards. And I think they could be the Wizards. I think, honestly, 6, 7, 8, I think, is going to be the way it is. I think the Wizards are going to be the 6th seed. Charlotte's going to be the 7th. And Atlanta's going to be the 8th. But watch out for those Knickerbockers. The Knicks, who have won, I think, 7 or 8 straight. They're at 28-40. But they're only 4 games behind Atlanta. Now, I know what you're saying. That's 4 games. But the way the Knicks are winning, and let's be honest, the Hawks are not the greatest team around. Don't be surprised if the Knicks pass Atlanta. And I think it's going to be close. I think the Knicks will not succeed at making the playoffs, but I think they're damn going to make it a close run. And I, good for the Knicks, and good job for them for grabbing Phil Jackson. That's something maybe we should look upon. I said I wanted to, look at that. The Knicks needed to do something, and clearly there's something kind of love for Mike Woodson that I don't understand why anybody has. Any other coach in that situation, with that team's expectations, a team that won as many games as the Knicks, what did they win, 57 games or something? Or 50? I don't even remember. Somewhere between 52 and 57 games the Knicks won last season. They're not even going to be over 500. They would have to win every game for the rest of the year to be over 500. To be over 500. So, to just have that kind of fall off, I don't know how Mike Woodson is still the coach. That makes no sense, but whatever. Picking up Phil Jackson or signing Phil Jackson is a great move. I hope it helps them. I don't despise the Knicks. Who am I kidding? I despise the Knicks. I really do. I actually love that they're doing terribly. But at the same time, I like seeing a rivalry, and I like it. I like the Eastern Conference to be really competitive, and I like the Knicks being good and the Nets being good. I don't like one of the teams being good and the other team bad. That's the way it was 10 years ago. But whatever. The Knicks made a good move with Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson has to just say, all right, here's what we got to do. We got to bring back Carmelo, and we got to destroy everybody else on the team. We got to bring in players that play off of Carmelo who can play the triangle offense. When I say triangle offense, here's the funny thing. When people think of the triangle offense, they usually think of a low post player, a guy that you get the ball in the post, and then you have the guards and the forwards branch off of. The most successful triangle offensive teams were coached by Phil Jackson. You got, obviously, the Bulls, Phil Jackson and the Bulls, and then Kobe Bryant with the Lakers. So, how did that team really run? Because, obviously Shaq was with the Lakers, but if you look carefully, the most successful triangle offense is done with the shooting guard. In Chicago, Michael Jordan was the focal point. He was the point of the triangle, the guy that gave it all on the post. Because he was athletic enough and smart enough with a good enough IQ to make passes out of double teams. Really, the triangle offense worked better with Shaq and Kobe. They alternated in the triangle. They kind of went more with Shaq, but in my opinion, they need to do the same thing. The Knicks need to do the same thing, but with Carmelo. They need to get the ball to Carmelo in the post. Melo has to be able to work in the post, which he's good at, but needs to be better at it, and play through the triangle that way. That's kind of what the Nets are doing now, if you look carefully, with Joe Johnson. They play the triangle offense through Joe Johnson. They did originally with Lopez, and they do it through Joe Johnson. To me, the triangle offense works better with a guard who's quick, who can create his own shot easily, and make the right pass because he's athletic enough and quick enough to make the right play. I think that works better. And we're seeing it working with the Nets, and I think that's what Phil Jackson's going to implement with the Knicks, and I think the Knicks are going to be one of the best teams in the league next year. You have my word, if they bring back Carmelo. That's a rant on the Knicks. What's wrong with NetsBoy ranting on the Knicks? But anyway, the Eastern Conference standings to me are set. I think it's going to end up being Indiana, Miami, Toronto, Chicago, Brooklyn, Washington, Charlotte, Atlanta. I think the Nets could jump up. I think teams could tussle, but I think those are going to be the 8 playoff teams, and I think that's kind of set in that area. I don't even want to talk about the West. Because God knows what's going to happen with the West. Everybody is bunched up. Like, everybody is bunched up. I just want Dallas to make the playoffs because I want Vince Carter to be there, and I just want Vince Carter and the Mavericks to win a first-round playoff. I kind of want them to be the 6th seed. I can't see them getting higher than the 6th seed. I don't know if they can catch Portland. You know, they're 5 games behind Portland, but they're only 2 games behind Golden State. I want Dallas to be the 6th seed. That means they have a nice matchup against the Clippers, who I think the Clippers are one of the most overrated teams in the league because I do not buy into DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin as great bigs. I buy into Chris Paul and I buy into their 3 shooting, but I just do not buy into the Clippers. So I would like to see that matchup. The Phoenix is currently the first team out of the playoffs, and you know what? I think they're the team that's going to miss it. It's really a 9-team race, really in both conferences. You know, the Knicks are hanging on there in the East, and in the West, the Suns are only a game and a half out. But look, the Suns did a heck of a run, but they're not a good team. You know, you saw them when the Nets played them. They're not a good team. I don't know how they won 39 games. Tip your hat to them. I think the Suns are going to a little fall apart here. I think the Suns are going to barely, end up like 45 and 20 something. You know what I mean? 45 and 30 something. I think that's like what they're going to be, and I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think the 8 teams in both conferences are the 8 teams that are going to make the playoffs. Seeding might jostle a bit, but that's my prediction. We'll see what happens when the year comes to an end. We'll see how accurate NetsBoy is. Because I've kind of been wrong on a lot of things this year, which usually doesn't happen. Last year I predicted a lot of things successfully. Like I said, the Nets win 48 to 52 games. They won 49. This year, I've been messing up a lot of predictions. I think I predicted the Nets to win 60 games. Or I said 55 to 60. Good one, NetsBoy. That was funny. But anyway, that's what I see in the standings. I think these are the teams. I think the Nets have a favorable schedule. They've got to keep on winning. They got to keep on playing well. Darren Williams looking good. Joe Johnson making big shots. Paul Pierce looking good. Teletovic is kind of lately, but that's okay. It's Teletovic. He'll bounce back. Marcus Thornton looking good. Everyone's looking good. So let's just crunch time. Keep winning some games. Oh, and if you want to know, I have Syracuse winning the whole thing in the NCAA tournament. I just think that that's a team that went from being one of the best teams in the country to sliding off the face of the earth, a type of team that can regain their magic just for the tournament. That's the type of team I think. So yeah, that's my team. And I got money on that. Not gonna say how much, but I got money on it. But anyway, that's the end of this NetsBoy episode. Another 13 minutes of probably boredom that half the people will just kind of turn off halfway through, so you may not even get to this point. If you got to this point of the video, you got some patience. But anyway, till next week, this is NetsBoy, signing off.